Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I am standing on a yoga mat, but if you don't have one, that doesn't mean you can't practice with us. Just find a place that's carpeted, not too slippery. I think it's great to have a chair nearby for some balancing fun or anything else, any other way it might be handy. Also, a couple of blocks if you don't have them, thick books, and some sort of folded blanket. Maybe it's a big beach towel, or could be the throw blanket from your couch. I think those will make life a little easier as we practice. And the other thing is, if you situate yourself so that the short edge of your mat is facing me, or as if you had a short edge of a mat, I'll move around, I'll move my mat, I'll actually even move off my mat to show you things, but let me do the moving so that you get the best view. And once you're set, we will begin as we often do in our Tadasana, our mountain pose. So step your feet hip distance, soften your knees, turn your palms away from each other. Allow your chin to get parallel to the ground. Imagine that you're looking at a bright horizon, because you are. And then soften your gaze, maybe even close your eyes and still be able to see the bright horizon. As we take a moment to stop so that we can start. Part of what we start is to become aware of our breathing. If you can, breathe just through your nose. That means the inhale and, if possible, the exhale. And think of making the inhale and the exhale just a little bit longer and richer and deeper. And in the case of the exhale, a little bit more complete. So there's no rush indicated in our actions, no rush indicated in our breath, and hopefully no rush indicated in our brains. 3 moments here. And take your hands onto your heart and feel your own heartbeat. The rise and fall of your breath slowing will also help slow your heart rate a little bit. Helps calm our nervous system a little bit. This is your pulse. This is your inner power. This is your value, or as I like to say, val-y-o-u. So valuable, but also value. Now take your arms alongside you once again, and then step out wide onto your mat. If you don't have a mat, just imagine that you've got a long edge of your mat. Extend your thumbs to the sky with your arms out to the side. Let your shoulders relax. Toes face that long edge of your mat. So if you don't have one, just think toes facing forward. And then bend your knees and take your hands onto your thighs, and like an experiment, bend your right knee and then your left knee. And we're making our way into some side lunges, but we're going slowly. And I mean slowly, like not too much of a bend. There are a few things we want to be careful of. Head not lower than hips is one of them. It's a biggie. You know that I often mention that. And then keep breathing, and imagine that you can feel your heartbeat underneath your hands, even though currently your hands are on your thighs. And then let it be smooth. We're skating through life. A little side to side. And lastly, we're not scrunched shoulders into ears. So if you press into your thighs just a little bit, you can make a very long spine. And smiling collarbones as we skate. And next time you're over to your right, stay with a bent right knee, and you could go a little bit deeper into the bend. I do want you to be cautious that it's not super far forward of your ankle, so maybe especially as we land in it, widen your stance a little bit, and then your left leg will straighten out a bit, but I don't want you to shove your hand into straightening it, so be soft. Stay curious. 3 moments here on our right side of our side lunge. Just letting there be a bit of a stretch. And then through center, bend your left knee, light on the right hand on that straight right leg. Just check to make sure that you've got knee over ankle as best you can, that there's not a big jutting of the knee forward. And then perhaps a little bit more bend in the left knee, still cautious not to have that at an angle that feels like a lot of pressure on your knee. So hands aren't pressuring the knee, and our situation over our ankle not pressuring our knee. And then smile the collarbones while we're here. How about that stretch in the inner thighs, right? Last couple of moments here. Keep breathing. Now, come down the middle with both knees bent. Do the best that you can. If you need to come out of it before I mention coming out of it, that's fine, no problem. Press into your thighs, lengthen through your spine. 3 more moments here while we build a little bit of heat into our musculature. We're still breathing, right? And it's steady and through your nose. Now, slow motion, begin to straighten your legs, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky, and then just float your arms, palms facing out. We've got a wide stance, but it's like our mountain pose. Imagine a string in the crown of your head, and the string is pulling you tall like your mountain peak. And your mountain right now has a very broad platform. 2 moments here. Now slowly heel toe and heel toe, so that we're back to our usual mountain stance. And then standing on your left leg and hugging your left hip in, take your right foot and make a kickstand. This is where hand on the back of the chair might be your new favorite thing. Now what I want you to think of though is really hugging that left hip in. So it gets tempting to kind of let something like that happen. Hug it in. Hands can come to your hips, maybe one hand on your chair. If it makes sense in your body, and you can feel this out because you're the expert of your own body, and that is valuable, take your right foot into your left shin. So if that works, great. There might be 1 or 2 who decide it's interesting to put right foot into left inner thigh. So feel into it. How does that feel? May feel like it's too much. Hand on the chair could be your friend. If things feel solid to you today, thumbs to the sky, arms out to the side, maybe even a V shape here in your tree. So many things to play with, and that's all it is play. There's not one right way. And each day it's going to be a little bit different, which is cool because it keeps it interesting. Now bring your hands onto your hips if you had your branches extended. And for all of us, just point that right knee forward and step into your mountain, hip distance. We're growing a tree out of our mountain. You can walk to the other side of your chair if it's helpful, if that was what you were doing. And then just shift your weight onto your right foot here. And start to think of creating a kickstand with your left foot. Now we want to make sure we're not forgetting about that right hip. So hug the right hip, and that's hip stability, which even when we're not trees and we're just wandering around the planet, we want to be able to have. You can have your hand on your chair. Perhaps left foot into the shin is interesting. You decide. You can have your hands on your hips if that's working for you, or like I said, hands on the chair. And then perhaps it's a little bit more of an experiment, and maybe a little bit more than you need. Left foot into right inner thigh. So not important that it get up this tall. Some days it might feel like the plan. And then thumbs to the sky with your arms out to the side, maybe. Or thumbs to the sky and one hand on your chair. Maybe your branches extend to the sky, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Way more important is that you're breathing and that you find the value of Y-O-U in balance. And balance kind of on your right foot, but balance in your approach. So you don't feel like you're doing it badly. You're really celebrating what you're doing. It's super important. 2 more moments. If all we ever see is what we can't do, that's all we ever see. You know what I mean? Hands to your hips. Turn your left knee forward. And then stand into your mountain. Feet hip distance. Turn the palms away from one another. Find that glorious posture. Ears over shoulders, over hips, over heels. Wide once again, so you can actually even use your chair if you want to. And if you're using blocks or books, let me show you the props for that. So before we step wide again, let's mindfully organize our props. Your blocks will go tall at the back edge of your mat if that's what you're using. Your chair can now move so that it sits in the middle of your mat so that your hand could come to the seat of your chair if you wanted to use that. And I'll show you how to do that. Arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Step out wide, once again, sort of like our side lunges. I like to think aligning my ankles underneath my wrists, and that's just phase one of trying to figure out exactly where it is that I want to go. And then from here, turn your right leg out. Let your toes face that short edge of your mat, and then cheat your left heel back at about a 45-degree angle. Now our first one, we want to make sure that we're not knee forward of the ankle, so I tend to need to scoot a little bit more length into my stance. Play with it a little bit, just like we were mindfully making sure that our props were where we wanted them to be. We want to align our bodies so that the value and the val YOU meet up here. Bend your right knee, and here we are in our warrior pose. Our back leg feels like it's standing in Tadasana, in mountain pose, and our front leg has a feeling of a tree pose in it, doesn't it? Right hip hugging underneath you, stand into your heel. It's kind of like if the side lunges that we did and the tree pose had a baby. That's what's happening in our front leg. Now take your forearm, your right forearm, across your thigh and your left thumb up to the sky. Now try to keep the back leg standing in its mountain with your left thumb to the sky. We're not collapsed into either shoulder, and we still feel a little dusting of tree pose happening in our right hip. There could be an interest in taking your block tall to the outside of your right foot. You might even take your hand onto the base of your chair if that's not too difficult to find. And then just stay with it here. You also can keep the form across the thigh the whole time. And we'll stay for 3 and for 2. Start to very slowly and carefully straighten your front leg. This is where your hand could go on the base of your chair, on your block, or maybe carefully on your thigh, but you're pressing your thigh against your hand and your hand against your thigh. We're not swinging our butt out, we're not collapsed. So I want you to feel right hip underneath you, left thumb to the sky, and imagine spinning your inner upper arms away from each other so there's the most space between your shoulders and your ears that you can possibly find. You're still smiling your collarbones. You could even smile more than just collarbones if you'd like. 2 moments here. Now look down and bend your front knee, firm through your feet and your belly. Come up into our warrior pose and then lower your arms, straighten that front leg, and turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat. You'll want to move the block out of your way so that it's not going to affect side 2 of your pose. So take your time. If you need to heel toe together, move things, and come back, no problem. Turn your left leg out so that your left foot is facing the short edge of your mat, or your imagined short edge. Thumbs are to the sky, back heel at a 45-degree angle. And then start to bend your left knee, and it might be that you were moving props and things changed, and we just want to make sure that we have knee over ankle. Back leg feels like it's standing in a mountain pose. Torso upright. We can still see the bright horizon, so we're not struggling through the neck. We're also not looking down and rounding. It's right there at that glorious bright horizon. And then just a few more moments here. Left forearm across the thigh, like a little bit of a karate chop to your thigh. Right thumb to the ceiling. Spaciousness between the shoulders and the ears. Our back leg is standing. In mountain pose, our front leg feels like it's highly influenced from the tree pose that we did with the left hip hugging underneath us. Just do your best. Feel free to stay exactly as we are. If it's of interest, block on the outside of your left foot, left hand on your block, right thumb to the sky. No collapse, no rounding of the spine. Swing that left hip underneath you. Stand into your mountain in that back leg. Just do the best you can and take whatever breaks you need. That is true value. YOU. 2 more moments here. Now, either with your hand on your block or on the base of your chair or carefully on your thigh, press into your left big toe mound. Start to slowly straighten that front leg, and it doesn't have to get all the way straight. You're just playing with it. We still have a sense of tree pose in the left hip, the front hip. And then remember, on the first side, we were spinning the inner upper arms away from each other and making so much space between our shoulders and our ears. No shrugging, no tension, just expanse. 2 more moments. Go slow. Take a look down so that you can see what's happening. Bend your left knee. Come upright into warrior pose, thumbs to the sky. Slowly straighten your front leg, lower your arms, turn all your toes to face in front of you to that long edge of your mat. Make sure you know where you are. And then heel toe. Bring your feet hip distance. We want to manage our props, and we may need them for the next thing or enjoy them for the next thing. So if you're using blocks, now place them to either side of the short edge of your mat. So you're facing that short edge of your mat, and move your chair so it's situated a little bit more like where mine is now. So if you had it in the middle of your mat, just move it on over. Have it within reach in case it's of interest. And then feet hip distance in our mountain pose again. Stand tall. Spin the palms away from each other. Inhale, arms out and up, a V shape, a little half sun salutation. Hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs. Inhale your heart forward, just exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up, a V shape, and then float your arms to your sides, palms face out. Adding on. Inhale, arms out to the side, a V shape. Hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs. Inhale your heart forward, and either take your hands onto the base of your chair or place them carefully onto your tall blocks. Step your left foot back, and now we're in a lunge. And this lunge is interested in facing forward. So it's a little different. It's a counter pose, as we like to call it, to the tree pose poses that we just did. So your hip bones are facing towards your chair or towards the front edge of your mat. If you had flashlights on your hip bones, they'd be facing there. We're still not head below hips. Really traction your right heel into the ground and your right hip back and your left hip forward. And grow as tall in your spine as you possibly can. You have a few more moments where we are at this moment. So if ever you need a break, take a break, but make sure that you mindfully come out of the pose. It's transitions sometimes that can be the most challenging part. Stay with your hands either on your chair or here on your blocks, and sort of like our triangle, begin to think about straightening your front leg. Press into the right big toe mound. Now what we're not doing is rounding, and we're not letting our head get low. So I want you to think of extending your heart towards your chair or towards the front of your mat, swinging your right hip back, and pressing into your right big toe mound. And it's still not a locking out of the front leg, we're just on our way. It's the journey, not the destination. So there's a hip hinge, and there is also a hamstring stretch, and there's so much space in your spine. That's the value for you. And then breathe into this shape for a few moments. I'll be quiet. You meditate. Rebend your right knee. Consciously, left foot hip distance from right, hands to your thighs. Inhale your heart forward. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Inhale, arms out and up. You can actually keep your knees bent like a little bit of a chair. And then stand and float your arms alongside you and find the majesty of your mountain. Second side of that, bend your knees, chair pose. Why not? Hands to your thighs. Inhale, heart forward. Either place your hands on the base of your chair or take your hands to your blocks. Step your right foot back behind you in your lunge this time. We want to have sideways space so that those flashlights on our hip bones can face forward a little bit. You're not forcing anything. These are just directions to move in. Like I said, journey, not the destination. Use your back legs strong. Find length through your spine. Left hip draws back, and that's coming from a stamp into your left heel. And then just stay with it here. Again, just a movement meditation is really what this practice is. Notice what you notice. Can you imagine feeling your heartbeat underneath your hands, even though you're now in a lunge with your hands either on your chair or your blocks? 2 moments where we are. Slowly and very careful not to round the spine or drop your head. Think about pressing into your left big toe mound and straightening the front leg a little bit. It doesn't need to be a lot. It's like there's a hook in your left hip, drawing that left hip back as your right hip draws forward. And there's so many feels, aren't there? Probably on the front of that right leg you're getting something, and the back of your left leg you're definitely getting something. And remember, you're growing tall. It's a hinge at the hip. You can even fix your gaze a little out in front of you so that you know that you're not rounding into your leg. And then just stay with the sensations. A moment of me being silent so you can meditate here. Fantastic. Bend your left knee, mindfully, belly firm, right foot hip distance from left, hands to your thighs. Inhale, grow tall, and exhale, fold. Let's keep our knees bent, chair pose, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Stay for a moment. And then stand, arms along your side, palms face out. Super. Bend your knees, chair pose, V shape. Exhale, hands to your thighs. Inhale, heart forward, and then hands onto the base of your chair or hands onto your blocks, just as mindfully. Make your way onto the ground. Move your props, but you may want your blocks or thick books within reach. I'll move my chair so that I know that you can see me. You may need to move yours as well. And now let's find our blanket. I like to fold mine tall. Maybe you prefer something like a cushion from your couch for this next part. And then sit on your perch. So sit onto your folded blanket or onto your cushion if that's better, and extend your legs out in front of you. And let's pretend like we're doing tree pose, even though we're seated. And you will bend your right knee, and it could go into the inner thigh. It could go more towards the shin. You're the expert. And check this out. Maybe it's nice to have a block underneath that right thigh. Now, thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Then turn your right ribs towards your left inner thigh. And remember our lunge where we were really gloriously tall in our saddle. Stay with that. Your hands go on either side of your left foot. And it could even just be sitting upright is fine. Curl your left toes back. Take a moment with this hip hinge and stretch like a tree in one leg and like the pyramid pose that we just did standing in your left leg. 1 minute of silent meditation here. And close your eyes or gaze softly at the ground. Excellent. Slowly, come on up. Help it along. Take your hand onto your right thigh. Stamp your right foot onto the ground. And then extend your right leg out. We'll switch sides. Left foot, maybe it's nice in the shin. Maybe you sneak it up into the inner thigh. Perhaps a block on the outside of the left thigh. And then thumbs to the sky, a V shape. Turn left ribs towards your right thigh. And then just place your fingertips down, or feel free to stay upright. So you could just be upright with your hands gently placed onto the thighs. And then we meditate. Get taller and longer. Close your eyes or just divert your gaze so that it feels inward. A full minute here. Was an excellent minute of silence. How did it go? Slowly bring yourself up. We want to be mindful as we exit. Help it along. Left foot stamps. Block out of the way. Let your left leg extend. Pause for a second. Both legs are straight. You're sitting up tall as if we were in a mountain, seated with our legs out in front of us. And we transition to the floor. Bend your knees and place your feet on the ground. We want to come off of our perch. And then lie down onto your back. And once you do, keep your feet as wide apart as your mat. Let your knees fall in on each other. Shimmy your shoulder blades underneath you, arms along your side. Lift your hips just a smidge, just an inch. And place your hips back down, but you've just a tiny bit more space for your low back that way. And if you'd like, this can be your final Shavasana meditation here. Or extend one leg and then the other. Let your feet flop open. Close, maybe cover your eyes, but this is the rest and digest of our practice. You're always welcome to stay here in our Shavasana final meditation as long as you would like. If you're ready to start to make your way back, lightly move your fingers and toes. Maybe give yourself a stretch. Arms and legs away from each other like we're waking up all over again, refreshed and renewed. And then bend your knees and place your feet on your mat. Roll gently, carefully, to either side. And help yourself up with your hands so your head can come up slowly and nothing feels dizzying. Find a comfortable seat. You're welcome to bring your perch back into the mix. And then hands on your thighs, palms face up or down. And it's here where we just appreciate the value of value. Know that I value you practicing with me so much. I'm Andrea, and I look forward to us doing this again together soon.